Hello everyone and welcome again to Brontë Mania. First of all, my apologies for the delay in getting this video out. I originally planned to do it about 2 weeks ago and I've been negligent in that regard, so I'm very sorry about that. So this video is going to be about Emily Brontë. I'd like to start to begin with relating a bit about her childhood. She was actually 6 years old when she first went to school. This was in Bridge in 1824, the same school that three of her sisters went to. That was Maria, Elizabeth and Charlotte. She stayed there for a year and left when she was aged 7 because there was an outbreak of typhoid in the school, and she and her other three sisters were sent home. Unfortunately, her two oldest sisters, Maria and Elizabeth, both died at home, but she and Charlotte survived. And there was actually a break of 10 years before she again went to school. This was in 1835 when she went to Rowhead School, and this is part of a package where Charlotte was there as a teacher and Emily went there as a pupil, and she received half board for the fact that her sister was a teacher there. So it's quite a good arrangement, but unfortunately Emily could not stay in school for very long. She was only there 2.5 months because she had a real problem with the daily routine at the school. The regime she found very hard to take in, and she needed her liberty, and her own personal freedom was very important to her, and she really did not enjoy her time at school at all and couldn't wait to leave. In the end, she was allowed to leave, and her younger sister went in her place to the school. This problem with rules and stipulations at school she had a difficulty with in her younger life reared its head again in 1842 when she joined Charlotte in going abroad to Brussels to further education. They wanted to gain a better understanding of foreign languages such as German and French, which they hoped would stand them in good stead when they were hoping to open a school of their own with Charlotte, Emily and Anne all working together as teachers, where they could be together rather than being apart. But unfortunately this never came to fruition because, as Charlotte put it, no pupils could be found for the scheme, so they had to drop the idea. But when they were in Brussels, Emily did not get on very well with the professor teaching them. He had this idea of setting a lesson where his pupils would take a work from a well-known published author and use it as a basis for an essay they would write, and they would work from that main structure. But Emily did not think this was a good idea at all, and she told the professor quite plainly that she thought it would destroy any opportunity of originality in writing this essay, and she just thought it destroyed all creativity, and she was quite upfront with her opposition to these essays. And the professor didn't take this too kindly. He was actually quite angry with her for that. But later on, when he was asked about Emily, he said that she had a remarkable mind and that he thought she would go on to become a writer of some prominence, which was proved to be the case. I'd like to share now some sketches I have of Emily, to do with Emily's life. This one is a sketch that was originally done by her brother Branwell. And then this one is actually a sketch which Emily did herself. I've done a copy of it. This is of a pet hawk called Hero. And I'd like to share with you some pictures from my one of my biographies on Emily. In this page I'm going to show you, it's at the top part, it's got a copy of a poem she wrote. It's one of her Gondel poems, which is a fantasy adventure series which she and Anne co-wrote when they were children, growing into when they were almost like young women. It lasted for a number of years and was there pretty much starting out as writers. And at the bottom of this page is a picture of Emily's rosewood writing desk. I'd like to refer a bit now to Emily's only novel. It's very sad it was her only novel, but that's the way it worked out. This is the masterpiece. It's called Wuthering Heights, which I think is one of the most remarkable novels ever written. It has some of the most amazing language in it. Some of the dialogue, the power is just astounding at times. But a lot of the plot of the novel revolves around Heathcliff and his romance with Cathy, who is actually his half-sister. But his half-brother, Hareton, he had real... there was a real sense of animosity between them. When Heathcliff became a member of the home, Hareton really did not like this at all, because he was a total stranger and didn't know why he was coming into their home, and he was completely against them. And right from childhood into going into when they were youths, Hareton dished out some really terrible treatment to Heathcliff. He would whip him almost constantly and constantly say how he didn't want him there and how he despised him. And then in later life, when Heathcliff grew to be a man, he went off to make his fortune and came back rich and established figure, and he took out his revenge on Hareton. And this, some critics always view Heathcliff in this light, that he's a savage person, horrible person. Who would want to know anyone like that? And, what a dreadful person. But he was actually, I think, driven to become the character he was by the treatment received by Hareton. And anyone who constantly received that treatment when they were younger would remember it and would want the revenge on the person that had done these terrible things to them. That's my take on Heathcliff anyway. So like to address some more things about Emily, which is I think I'd read one of her poems. This is one of my favourite Emily poems. It's called The Old Stoic, and this actually delves into all about her feelings of needing her own liberty, as she would put it, which is really a personal freedom, so that she could express herself the way she wanted to express herself, and is most particularly related to her creative mind, her powerful creative mind, and her writing. And it goes like this: Riches I hold in light esteem, and love I laugh to scorn, and lust of fame was but a dream that vanished with the morn. And if I pray, the only prayer that moves my lips for me is, leave the heart that now I bear and give me liberty. Yes, as my swift days near their goal, 'tis all that I implore, in life and death a chainless soul with courage to endure. I think this is a real interesting poem because it delves into this aspect of liberty and how important it was to Emily. And at the start of the poem is very interesting too. The bit about rich as I hold in light esteem and love a laugh to scorn, but particularly rich as I hold in light esteem, and lust of fame was but a dream that vanished with the morn. Because Emily was never like Charlotte, Charlotte was pushing her sisters to get their work published and to become famous and popular and to earn money, but that was never important to Emily, and she only became a published writer because Charlotte discovered some of Emily's poems in Emily's room and said, "Oh, how wonderful these poems are, we should get them published." And Emily was affronted by Charlotte's interfering into her personal space and taking her own property and saying, "Yeah, let's get it published." She preferred it to be private, but Charlotte pushed her into that, but then Anne saved the day because Charlotte was talking about them all getting the work published, and Anne said, "Oh, I have some poems of my own you might like to read, Charlotte." So she read those and was impressed with those. So then they had this idea of bringing out a combined collection of poetry by all three sisters, which is what happened. But originally it didn't fare too well. It actually only sold 2 copies in its first immediate run, but later on it sold quite a bit more. It was well received by the critics, so that says quite a lot, I think. So yeah, what it says in this poem about the liberty side of Emily just shows you how important that was for her, and that ruled her life to a large extent. That's really the person she was. I would like now to show my admiration for Emily in another way, which is to read out one of my poems, which actually got published in America. It's entitled Dearest Em, and as I put underneath the main heading in the book, inspired by Emily Brontë. It goes like this. You are my sun and my star, shining such bright rays of love, and guiding me on my way through storms and troubled waters. Stay there for me, please, high above all we know, and lend your magic to my cause, O my ever dearest Em. You are the light that shines so very brightly in all its shades, and illuminate the darkest times. That is your gift and your grace. You are a divine angel, of that there is no doubt, instilling a wonder that transcends all in life and beyond. I marvel at your beauty, which is great, both in spirit and in clever mind. You are all things to one who knows the value of your gifted art. That says it all really about how much I admire Emily Brontë and what a remarkable person and writer she was. So thank you very much for tuning in to this latest video on Brontë Mania, and I look forward to talking to you very soon. By the way, my next video will be on Charlotte, so I hope you enjoy that one too. Thank you very much for tuning in, and see you next time.